This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, truth seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I'm back from vacation, recharged, ready to go. Got lots of information for you all this week. I hope everybody enjoyed Dennis Kaufman's documentaries that we played for the last couple weeks. And I did have some actual responses to those being played once again. But first, I want to go ahead and invite Harriette Sucher to the show.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
In Northern California. How about you?
They are threatening that, aren't they? All this rain that's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're going to get some snow, too. You think you guys are going to get some snow up there?
I'm told, yeah. They get snow on the east side, which those mountains are 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 feet in this part of Northern California. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of mountains, I was staying, my host family in Switzerland has a beautiful hillside house on top of a mountain overlooking Lake Geneva, and I could see the Swiss Alps all the way across. It was absolutely gorgeous. I've never seen anything so, I wish I had put some pictures up to share with people on here, but I'll be getting them out sooner or later. I just want to catch everybody up on some YouTube comments over the last couple weeks. So we had, let's see, well, it's at Lynn's in Mac B 8 days ago in regards to the real story by Dennis Kaufman, stated Nanette, all in caps with an exclamation. I absolutely love that. I have seen spurts of this documentary and newscast and never realized that was you in this segment. I immediately recognized your voice after seeing it again. Keep pushing. And that's what we're doing. Obviously, we're just going to keep on rolling with the information that we have. I did look, or I got the stats from Dean for last month, and we had over 12,490 total downloads for the month of October. That's exciting. That means lots of people are tuning in and paying attention. One, Zachlin Dmitry Javik, 8 days ago, when the Zodiac reported the murders on the phone, he didn't have an accent like Jack does. And I thought maybe you and I, Harriet, could address that. I kind of look at it like when he called into the Napa Police Department to report the Lake Berryessa murders, the what was her name? What was the gal that took that call?
The gold digger, gold, whatever her name is. She became famous under. She became famous under Voight in the recent years. But I'm trying to remember her name too. Yeah, she was the one who answered the phone. Allegedly.
And she stated that he spoke with an unusual cadence, right? Like the deal there was that he was speaking extremely slow and extremely drawn out, and not necessarily a drawl. But when I think about somebody who has an accent, if they want to collectively change the sound of their voice, you would have to speak slower, right? I mean, if you're looking to change an accent, you're going to draw other things out to kind of elude that accent so that you're not immediately recognizable should they come into contact with you in person. So I want people to realize that the Zodiac was extremely good at hiding his footsteps, his fingerprints, his handwriting, all of these things so many years. So we're not going to look at it like, oh, he didn't have an accent. He also spoke in a manner in which the police officer stated she'd never heard somebody speak before. So keep in mind that if I want to change that, I'm going to have to slow down. Otherwise, it's going to be extremely recognizable, just like this individual who said, I recognized your voice after seeing it again. So We also had lone gunman. He popped up out of.
Well,
what's that?
I just wanted to say real quick, I think Dennis even agreed that he was trying to disguise his Southern Texan drawl. So he was trying to alter that.
And so he
spoke say, hey, I know that voice. South Texas.
So he spoke in a manner that was extremely slow, kind of like what I'm doing right now in order to change that accent.
Yes.
Lone Gunman posted interesting on one of the videos. On another one, good work, I subscribed, with a final Lone Gunman stating CIA, contract security, defense firms, newspapers, media, Hollywood, editors, columnists, cartoonists, and a heavy amount of inside information that only someone from this very type of crowd would have in order to get away with such crimes. I like the way you think. Thank you, Lone Gunman. I'm glad somebody's on board. Putting all is definitely a challenge. All right, so, I don't even have my clicker out. Let's get her going so we can change screens. Come on. There we go.
You're still in Switzerland.
What's that?
I said you're still in Switzerland.
I am still
back here.
I've been here 50 years and had 2 marriage proposals. I was there for 10 days and had 8. So yes, maybe I need to go back. Actually, that was in Ireland, but we were having some drinks. Did you get that message that I sent to you requesting? You said you found a website that actually did the type print, like was found on the Sergeant Lynch letter?
Yes. So I went with that one because I needed to find the feel of that, what you were requesting. And this is at a website that I call theydon'tLikeUs.com. And I thought, this is amazing. This is really close to circa 1970 typewriter, because I had one. My family's had one. And
I would like to be able to use it to read. I would like to be able to use it to retype the. I would like to be able to use it to retype the Dr. Danto letter. So I did do a transcription of the Dr. Danto letter based on the original typewritten version, cross-comparing that with the typed version that I showed everybody the last time, which turns out we know that that was transcribed from the original. And then Terry B eventually sent us the actual typewritten version from the suspect. And I would like to actually transcribe it in that fashion. So if you can send me over that link to where we go to for that, that would be awesome.
I can do that after the show, but this site is saying that that's an accurate reproduction of what this thing looks like. And I'm like, this site has a lot of all the stuff that people can't find. And I'm like, how would they know that this is supposed to look exactly like this? Okay.
Well, so do they have a system where you can type it up, or did you find it retyped already?
No, it was typed like that, and I'm going to go on a limb and saying that that's exactly what was sent by Jack. That is supposed to be in some kind of file somewhere. I'm finding most of these files, especially mid-70s onward, are actually facsimiles that were sent on some kind of phone system that most people did not have. So
well, and we saw that Jack actually did have a facsimile system, because I have some images that he had sent to Dennis via facsimile at one point in time, though I'm not sure I have an actual date on it. I'll have to go back and look to see how soon he had them. But we know that he was a ham radio operator. We know that he had a teletype machine. We know that he was actively using computers from back when you had to actually key in the DOS system and tell your computer literally what to do. It wasn't an icon or a picture that you clicked. You needed to instruct the computer how to act. And we know that Jack was into all of that. The Dr. Danto letter, I'm not... What's that?
I was just going to say really quick, there's only stuff that was found in the places like the White House, the military, major publishers, and he had access to all of that. He was working with a bunch of people.
Weather bureaus, yes, lots of individuals, but very high up individuals and people that needed to be in the know had access to that kind of stuff. I'm not going to a lot of time re-going over the Dr. Danto letter, even though I thought that was something we were going to hit today. I would like to see it in actual type print. I do have a typewriter, but I think I need to get it going. I've not used it before. It was a hand-me-down from somebody, but I thought it would be interesting to keep in case I ever needed to do something like this. I just wanted everybody to actually see, though, when we look at the Dr. Danto letter and the way it's typed up, minus this top line, which was actually on the envelope, and it was typed in all caps, most very important, most urgent, please. That look at the left margin on this particular letter. And I know you can't see this right now, but I think I sent you a version of this, didn't I, Harriet? Yep, all
Yeah.
colored up and
I have
all
it somewhere.
Okay, so what I wanted everybody to see is that we have a left margin that is very inconsistent, as if the individual is manipulating and playing with this typewriter in a way that does not appear to be what a normal person would do. I know that typewriters are a thing of the past, and most of our younger generations don't understand how they worked, but when you came to the end of the line or you hit return, it automatically returned to the same exact point in the left margin to keep that left margin flush, about a ½ inch on the left-hand side of the paper. But if you look at what you're seeing on my screen right now, you'll take note to the unevenness, that the return probably came back to a certain point, but then the person that's typing it actually either had to hit the space bar in order to advance it forward in order to make this left margin look like this. And that made me wonder if there wasn't some type of a message inside of that as well, knowing that first and last words of the communication was something that Lawrence Swearingham had figured out in the Melvin Belli letter, which I have now juxtaposed to the Dr. Danto letter. And the reason for that is because I wanted to point out so many of the linguistic consistencies between these letters. Of course, we know that the please help me is something that we heard a lot in the Dr. Danto letter. We see the hyphenation of words like difficult, which is spelled incorrectly, but we also have hyphenation over on the Dr. Danto letter, which there was actually a hyphen in there, but it didn't need a hyphen. So I take that to be a thought break, just like we see when Jack writes his letters, and sometimes we see the Zodiac letters where he uses a hyphen to kind of cause a pause or a thought process change, and he begins a new thought. So I'm seeing that here in the Dr. Danto letter. I'm also seeing some hyphenation. Let's see, breaking of words. Probably not on this one yet, but another commonality here is we have guilty spelled incorrectly because it should be G as guilty, but then we can see the rest of the entire document, he actually spells the word guilty correctly. So again, this is a ruse to try and con people into believing that he is either not of the American language or that he is dumbing himself down to look like he can't spell. We see that in the word gremlin. We see it spelled correctly in one line. The very next line, gremlin with an I instead of an E. And that's, of course, in the Melvin Belli letter where he spells the word control in the first line incorrectly and in the second line or the next line correctly. So children are safe. And in the Dr. Danto letter, he's stating that the children are not safe, but he thinks he can make them safe if he turns his accomplice in, basically. And I thought that was an interesting statement because how can you assure, if you're not the killer, how can you assure that there'll be no more children harmed? That's one of the key points in this letter that makes me believe that's the suspect writing this, not an accomplice.
Well,
did you have
all
anything?
I know was that ended up coming out as everything that was even supposed to be done by Broad, that was actually a facsimile, that there's no envelope, there's just no letter. It was just typed that way. Everything's code. And
well, it did say that on the envelope, Kathy Broad's transcription of it did say on the envelope was typed the most very important, most urgent, please, in all caps on the envelope. So there must have been something.
No, that's how everything that was stated there. I said, this is all an anagram. Even when you add on the envelope sideways, I've seen that in other ones that I've done where the envelope has something sideways. So you put on the envelope it's sideways, but this is all one. It's a facsimile that was sent out.
Right. And, well, I want to do some more comparison of the type. I do want to do some more.
People all the more. I'm just a code breaker.
Right. I do want to actually get this one typewritten, because I think it may even actually show differences between, I mean, obviously a Word document is not going to be as specific in the spacing as a typewriter is, because the letting and kerning in the computer is completely different from the spacing that's found on a typewriter, and it may actually lay out much differently. The differences I really actually found were in the right margin. So where the last letter of one sentence would end did not necessarily line up with the typewritten version. So this could help us or you, should I say, in code breaking as well. Another thing that I saw that the author did is that he would either make a single space after a period before he starts the next line, down to where he would actually not make any spaces, as in the word guilty, period, and had no spaces between the period and the and, all the way to the point where we see no periods and then a capital begin again. And so they're making it look as though they can't punctuate, but on several occasions I actually found where he spaced 2 spaces after the period, and that was the proper way to write a sentence. Now we only do 1 space because we're trying to conserve on spacing, but back in the day it was 2 spaces after the period to be proper punctuation and formatting. And since I see that actually occurring in this letter, all the rest I'm just going to assume at this point was the individual attempting to make it look like he did not know how to punctuate or use a typewriter, and that's absolutely untrue. Yeah. You would have to know how to use one in order to manipulate the document like he's done.
Well, I think it's the people that they were going after, the Nazis with broken English, all the stuff that the decoded missives were saying. So that makes, to me, a lot of sense. Those people were not fluent in English when they were snuck in here. So a lot of references, so to speak, of what we're dealing with.
Well, yeah, and let's take one of the linguistics, or one of the sentences with the linguistics. It says, I tell you what makes him do it, Vietnam. So he's attempting to make it sound like he is, English is not his first language. But then below that, we see where he uses the word gotta, G-O-T-T-A, and be fucking, F-U-C-K-I-N. These are both English slang words. So if you're using those correctly in the sentence, I tend to believe that you absolutely use English as your first language. I did see he states in here, like I said, he killed lots of little kids, then with metals for it. He's talking about burning them to death, bombed them with napalm. It's real beautiful here, Doc. And of course, that says be cautiful. So that was one of the arguments with Terry B, is he wanted me to read this for what it was worth in all of the misspellings. But I think that people can see that when they're looking at the presentation. That made me cross-reference this section of Dennis's book, where he talks about Dennis, which is Jack's biological son, ended his letter to his dad, Jack, with, Dad, I killed 16 gooks today, and you would love it here because hunting season is open all year round. So these are some really scary statements for anybody with a warped mind to be making a statement over. There are a lot of Vietnam vets that suffered traumatically from the events that they had to perpetrate while there. So it's hard to believe that anybody would find this enjoyable, but evidently Denny and his father Jack did. Let's see if there's anything else. We got the word cannot. So we used the word cannot. We did already talk about the, let's see, I think in the next one is where I started to find, where are you guys? We see the word afraid. So in the Belli letter, he used the word afraid. In the Dr. Danto letter, he wrote arrayed instead of afraid. We also saw that he was using, is that here? He was using the number 8 instead of the apostrophe in words like didn't, couldn't, can't. And then we actually saw him, and I want to see, where did I find those? There were a couple of them in here. Oh, yes. Okay. So we see the word didn't for the first time in here that has the number 8 in it. This is consistent with the Dear draft board letters. And then I wanted to pull out too, out of the Dear draft board letters, I am scared to see psychiatrist once more. And the reason I brought that out is because this letter for Dr. Danto was being written to a psychiatrist. So he's literally writing to a doctor asking for assistance. But right after he writes the number 8, we see that he writes didn't with the apostrophe, the proper apostrophe. So we know that he knows how to use this correctly. And again, he has made this cross connection between the Dear Draft Board letters and the Dr. Danto letter by using that number 8. Again, we have the please help me. Let's see, cannot is broken on the, cannot is broken on the Melvin Belli letter. So he writes can on one line and not on the next line. And then I saw here, not only, let's see, where were you? Somebody, let's see if I can figure out where that is. Oh, probably should have, let's see, gone bombed. And of course, the Melvin Belli letter is also talking about a bomb. And we have him talking about bombing people in Vietnam. I don't see where the somebody is. Either way, there is a breaking of words in this particular communication as well. And it was the word somebody. Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is right here. So I be killed for or due forever to jail for what so. Or something. So he actually splits the word with no hyphen using SO on one line, and he clearly has the enough room to write the METHING on the same line. He had plenty of room if you gauge that based off the word nobody about 8 sentences down. It is extended far enough that something would have fit. And we noticed this about the Zodiac early on, that when he hyphenated, he either had the room to actually write the entire word, he just hyphenated for whatever reason that he felt like at that point. Well, I know what you're going to say, Harriette. You're going to tell me that's because he was creating a code, right?
Oh, definitely. And 88 ended up being like it was. Heil Hitler, Nazis.
Right.
A lot of stuff. That letter to me was screaming, and I had just done something at the same time period. I said, this is about Nazis, the people here in the United States. So we can, just keep going. It's just
all right.
Amazing how he did this.
The last couple of things I wanted to point out again led me right back to the Dear Draft Board letter. At the same time, we are seeing it in the Melvin Belli letter. One of those is the breaking of words, like the word myself in the Melvin letter. Where the word my is separated from the word self. And we did actually see breaking of words. Let's see, I've got it marked in here, anymore. So in the Dear Dr. Danto letter, we see the word anymore is actually split any and space more. So we're seeing that happen as well. We know that Alan is the patsy for the Zodiac crime. So interesting that the accomplice chose the word Alan, spelled exactly like Arthur Lee Allen. And then, do you know what I mean? So I thought this was an interesting statement that came out of the Dear Draft Board letters. Do you know what I mean? Are you a woman? Then you can understand. I thought that was a very strange sentence that he felt a woman could understand, and I wasn't sure what to make of it. But when I got into the Dear Danto letter, we start to see, again, the crazy amount of hyphenation. We had 6 hyphens when I was talking about that breaking. So it starts to say, it be to say whether BO instead of bureau. So he's messed with the word bureau. And we see in the Dear Draft Board letter that he wrote bureau crazy, which was, again, a manipulation of the word bureau. Say trees to bloom in 3 weeks. We have 6 hyphens to start, you understand. Now, of course, that cross-reference of the word understand, and it's used at least 3 times in the Dr. Danto letter within 3 sentences, and the thought process of you can understand in the Dear Draft Board letter. Now, what I want to mention about the 6 hyphens is I want to say it was the Channel 9 newsletter, which we're going to get to here in a second, also had an array of hyphens that were used, albeit it was handwritten. It was still either 5 or 6, and we're going to verify that in a second here when we get to that. Now, the other part of it was the sign off on the right-hand side of the of the Dr. Danto letter. I signed Alan. And when we look at the Draft Board letters, it says signed ? Comma, though they've redacted whatever the name or whatever the individual is attempting to portray himself as. But in each of these 3 letters from the Dear Draft Board, it is signed off on the right-hand side directly beneath the actual text of the message. And then we see signed, and sincerely. So those, again, are consistencies in the drafting and the formatting of documents. And that is, one of them is actually done in typewritten execution. So that brings us to your Carter letter. You just submitted this one to me last week. It was a list. It looks like this letter that that has been written is to tell the people of the United States that if the following people are not released, I'm just trying to read the actual letter at this point.
Also. So
it's looking pretty degraded.
On purpose. So yeah, it's cut off on purpose. That's what I found. So it says this letter that has been written is to tell people of the United States that if the following people are not released, the fellow people will be murdered. The following people to be released in parentheses, and then there's a whole bunch of redaction. And
why redact the names of the people that they want released? What are they attempting to hide there? That just makes no sense to me.
He's making a statement here, so he's redacted it, and then he's saying the following people to be killed if they are not released is Jimmy Carter, Walter Mondale, Cyrus Vance, Cecil, I can't read it all, Andrew Young, Bob Berryland, let's see, Harold Brown, Michael Blumenthal, James Schlesinger, Charles Schultz, the guy who created the comics. Anyways, Jerry Brown, Farrah Fawcett, Lee Majors, Jackie Kennedy, Jacqueline Smith, Kate Jackson, Robert Blake, Henry Winkler, Lindsay Wagner, Raquel Welch, let's see, Anne Margaret, Angie Dickinson, Sally Fields, Linda Carter, anyways, Marie Osmond, anyways, sorry, trying not to laugh, Steve McQueen, Burt Reynolds, it's a lot of it's cut off, Charles Bronson, Bridget Bardot, and he scratches out Donny Osmond. And then he says, the people of America don't want any of the, and then something dead, then you better carry out and I can't really read that part. All of this ended up being, he's really out there.
Jerry Brown, Jerry Brown would be Papa Brown, right? Like, so we've had two actively been governors of California, and this would be the first Jerry Brown that he's referring to, correct?
No, it's the current governor, Jerry Brown.
Oh, yeah. He was on the list. Now, Robert Blake, wasn't he actually killed? Robert Blake?
No, Robert Blake, not him. I don't think any of these were actually killed. He's just making a statement, and it's I picked up on it very quickly, and I think it's supposed to be a facsimile. You want me to read it?
Yeah, this is actually written to the Sacramento Bee newspaper editor, 21st and Q, Sacramento, California. We know that the Zodiac has, in fact, written to the Sacramento Bee, so this falls in line, and that brings us to your solve. So go ahead and tell us what you came up with.
I'm going to try not to laugh. It's apparently a facsimile to Jimmy Carter. It says, message is, dumbass Georgia's Jimmy Carter, redacted RCMP, redacted Canada, redacted cops, redacted N, redacted UC, redacted 19, two last, kind of redacted, RN, SFPD, redacted Napa, redacted N, scratched out, and I think it's supposed to be Narlo. Question, where's Camelot President? The classified Palmdale address, that's sort of redacted. Alette autopsy, redacted. Nick, redacted. Send me, came to Ocean, Mar-a-Lago on 5/28/1977. Cannot find. So, and then he signs it off as J, and that's redacted. And you can kind of tell it says Jack Torrance.
Gotcha.
So
what's Camelot President?
Oh, that's Kennedy. He was.
Oh, okay.
The Kennedys were the Camelot. Yeah.
Oh.
So he's working, but he's very unstable. Just wait until we do the next one, people.
Well, and we know that he is kind of chaotic at this point in time because we know that they've moved to Texas and Nora has left Jack. So he's very unstable. She's also pregnant at this time when she leaves him. So no wonder he goes back to California to try and find her and bring her back to Texas. But even staying in Texas is short-lived. That brings us to the Dear Channel 9 newsletter that was received May 4th of 1978. I'm going to read this letter and then we can cover some of the things that we see in it. So, Dear Channel 9, this is the Zodiac speaking. You people in LA are in for a treat. In the next 3 weeks, you are finally going to have something good to report. I have decided to begin killing again. Please hold the applause! Exclamation. Nothing is going to happen until I do. You people just won't let me have it any other way. I plan to kill 5 people in the next 3 weeks. Number 1, Chief Piggy Daryl Gates. Number 2, ex-Chief Piggy Ed Davis. Number 3, Pat Boone, his theocratic crap is an obscenity to the rest of the world. Exclamation. 4, also Eldridge Cleaver. The niggers got to get their 20% quota after all, with a hyphen in there. And Susan Atkins, the Judas of the Manson family. She's going to get hers now. Hey, hyphen. So here is that thought break again by multiple hyphens that are being used that are consistent. So the Channel 9 newsletter even linguistically links back to the Dr. Danto letter. You actors, this is your lucky break. Remember, whoever plays me has his work cut out for him. See you in the news. And of course, we know that that was all the Zodiac really cared about, was getting the story out there, getting it told correctly. And he wanted them to stop telling lies or playing mystery games about things. He really wanted to be heard, and he was looking forward to playing or at least assisting in movie makers making the right story correct from the beginning. There's a reference giving the media a good story, which is what he's constantly trying to do, tell his story. Jack returned to California just before this letter actually arrived. The letter D, and of course, this is May of 1978, and we see that, well, I think we have some information that supports he's back shortly before. The letter D, I wanted to point out to everybody, this is one of those home runs where I thought, wow, we're seeing the same disguise in letters between communications. It's identical to the John Benet Ramsey letter. So Dennis is sure that they returned January of 79 or 78. He is sure they returned January of 1979, but we know Jack usually went forward to the new state to look for a place before moving the family out, as he did with Minnesota. Jack went before they moved to find a place to live and then brought the home there. 1978 was the last letter by the Zodiac that I'm aware of until 1986, but we have some others that are chiming in, and we're going to cover those today. I did actually pull out the construction of the letter D's in the D.B. Cooper, in the John Benet Ramsey, and in the Channel 9 newsletter, and we see that they are just absolutely similar in shape and construction, slant, everything that we would be looking for as an identification. So even when he creates these as some type of a attempt to conceal his handwriting or manipulate his handwriting or disguise it, he's using that same disguise throughout the communications. So the things that I found interesting about the Channel 9 newsletter was we have the hyphenation we've been talking about. We have spelling errors that obviously are purposeful spelling errors, which alludes to more sprees he's responsible for, like the Atlanta, Georgia child killer. He claims to kill 5 victims in the next 3 weeks, but lists 5 victims' names, like the DC Phantom, who claimed to list an address and name of his next victim within 10 days. So we see a connection there. We see the words theocratic crap. It's a very unusual phrase. I kind of compared that to the Dear Draft Board letter where he said bureau crazy. He uses the words niggers as a racial reference. In the finale letter, we see that he's portraying hatred for African American, like the DC Freeway Phantom murders and the next round of serial killers in the Atlanta, Georgia child killers. We also see the relation with the Zodiac and the SLA, which again, it brings us back around. He's trying to confuse us on whether or not he's truly a racist, I believe. We see a reference to a movie and who's going to play him. This is a huge theme throughout all of these communications. There's reference to the media. They won't let it happen any other way. It says, research, you wouldn't give me a fair shake in the Black Dahlia. So he's again making similar statements. December 27th of 1974 was the last communication from the Zodiac Killer while all the chaos was happening in Michigan and Minnesota. This may be in response to a documentary or movie that is being made. We see reference to who will play him and they having their work cut out for them. And the other letters are references to movies and books that he knows others are producing, like John Walsh, Tom Voight, Robert Graysmith, and Michael Tracy. The list of the victims we kind of covered. Susan Atkins was actually the Judas of the Manson family. I thought that was an interesting statement because we do have some playback with the Manson family inside of these, whether it relates to Scientology or the family or whomever these individuals are attempting to control. They were literally not doing these things on their own, just like I suspect the Zodiac Killer wasn't. He's being instructed, and Harriette believes that he's not getting paid, which is why he is making all this busy work. Let's see. This letter is giving.
He found out he's not getting paid, and then he's going crazy, and things are happening. Jeez.
Right. So this letter is giving the impression that Jack is in California before he begins his next spree. The last letter from the Zodiac from 5/8/78 to May or March of 1986. But again, I've found some additional letters, and we're going to cover those as well. And that brings us to your solve on the Channel 9 newsletter.
So it was stenographic code, and I found a heart and other things in there. I found a lot of X's or things to scratch stuff out. So I'll read it, but be forewarned, people. He's off the hook here. So, I'll read what I have. It's in the America's Most Evil, the big book. Anyways, it's saying to Mar-a-Lago, hi, Martin Luther King and nigger-hating fucking son of a bitch, Commander-in-Chief Jimmy Carter. Where's baseball gear? XXX movie. AX Heart. That's for S. Liquor, John Edward Walsh Jr. He sent to Lang/George Lucas. My district of Columbia data and Operation Midnight Climax. Nixon on time as Zodiac, the Zodiac symbol. Lee Bowers Jr. in disguise. Donna Lass in disguise. Hits. Then it's saying JFK autopsy on film. Hid. Kill Giancana. Earnings, he's screaming. Earnings, where's my earnings? I got nothing. Eat a dick, so eat it. Shit. This is the Zodiac speaking.
Good Lord, he's pissed. So now I see a secondary solve here that says MT Modus Tollens KKK. Oh, okay. So that KKK is what really works out.
There's another solve. For the envelope, there's two solves for the envelope. So, he's definitely off the hook.
Do you have that second solve to read?
That one.
Sure.
Well, let's just go with it. Come on now. Okay, this is the envelope. The first solve, but he twists something around and he says he actually got something else. Anyways, it's modus tollens. It means this is something you can expect, but you have to go back and take a look to see what's missing to get more stuff in it. Anyways, KKK Carter, 5/2/1978. I came to Mar-a-Lago, 5/28/77, 1100 South Ocean. And then he's saying, which means on or about Boulevard, 33480. That is the zip code for Mar-a-Lago. Asking, please, where's medical photographer Marjorie Alette Pictures, JK for Kennedy, 11/22/63, Palmdale, California. Found in PA system, mail Nixon, admin under Lang, Earthwise stamp, issue date May 5th, 1969, printed by Bureau of Printing and Engraving, method Jewelry Press, perforations, 11, City, Houston, Valentine stickers, nada. I came to value Camelot, White House, fucker, you dumb as a Q stick, man, Bubba. IO for documents in order, JT in California.
Wow.
So
Yeah. He's
There's
a little
another.
pissy.
There's another solved. This is the modus tollens solved. Did I do it? Okay,
Well,
and
I
one of the other
wanted to ask you one thing really quick. I think, where did I just see? Oh, you were talking about the moonrise stamp. I actually had the opportunity to do an examination to verify that they were legitimate, authentic wedding signatures by the astronauts for the Apollo missions, starting with Apollo 2, working its way all the way through Apollo 17. There was approximately, I want to say, 7 Apollo patches. They surround a man's name who was responsible for handling their safety, their gear, their suits, making sure everything works properly for them. At the end of each mission, they would apply a patch to this particular artwork and then have the astronauts sign around it. So I was able to examine Buzz Aldrin's signature, and I thought that was interesting. And I told the guy that the Apollo missions, for whatever reason, meant something to the Zodiac, because we see him use an Apollo stamp at some point in time. Very interesting. So you said there's another solve to this?
Yeah, and I'm going to read it because some of it is, I redacted it myself, but I'll still read it. It's KKK Carter. I came to Mar-a-Lago, 52877, asking, where's medical photographer Marjorie Ellett? 11/22/63, JFK Camelot, California, autopsy pictures from Joplin PA system, mailed 1970 to Nixon administration under Lang Earthrise stamp, issue date 5/5/1969, printed by Bureau of Printing and Engraving, printing method Giori Press, perforations 11, City Houston, Valentine stickers, May 2nd, 1978. I come to 1100 South Ocean Boulevard, Palm Beach, Florida, 33480 a.m. after midnight. And I now found, and he's saying he's found his toy, the Eisenhower Eagle, that was used in D.B. Cooper, that was also having something to do with the autopsy pictures. Then he's signing off as, oh, you evil meathead, dumb as a Q-thick, Bubba JT. So.
So that was actually the envelope, and that was the May 4th, 1978 Atlanta, Georgia child killer envelope, right? Where it said CIA backwards. So he flipped the letters.
That says CIA backwards. No, that's the Channel 9.
Yes,
he did
yes, and we're still on the Channel 9. Yeah, we're still on the Channel 9.
He read. I guess that's kind of a statement where he's where he's feeling quite backwards and mixed up, but he's still trying to work, and he's not getting paid for 25 years of being an MK Ultra and all that other stuff. So he's stable yet he's unstable. Some of these are right to read.
And the return address is the letters that are actually transposed. They're backwards. So the CIA, I mean, obviously the I and the A does not have the appearance of being backwards, but the C is flipped in rotation. And then the numbers going 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 are all turned backwards. And then what are those letters that are beneath that? A, E, C, G, T, H. Is that what am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, that's the Beatles song. That's from the Beatles song. And it says, all good children go to heaven. The song title is You Never Give Me Your Money. Song lyrics go on to say, you only give me your funny paper, and in the middle of negotiations, you break down. And then it's saying, out of college, money spent, see no future, pay no rent. All the money's gone, nowhere to go. Any jobber got the sack. These are the lyrics. Jack is
wow.
He's
all
like,
good children go to heaven. Huh? And so if this is a 1978 letter, do you know where it's mailed from?
Actually, I think I had it. Oh my God.
I'm trying. I feel like I see an A up there, but I'm not sure what that postmark or the postage stamp, or I'm sorry, postmark. cancellation mark says. It is using, so I have it listed wrong. I have it listed incorrectly. Then it's not the envelope to the Atlanta, Georgia child killer. I need to make that correction so that states the Channel 9 newsletter. But one of the things I wanted to point out is when we look at the actual writing that's on this, including the 9 that's used, is very similar to the G's that are used in what they purported to be the fake Zodiac letter in regards to Herb Cain. That G is pretty much identical, and I just caught that and saw that, but we can go back and look at those later. Either way, we see the Zodiac symbol on the back side of it, and we see the postage stamp that is actually being used. We're going to see these 4 stamps right here going to be crossovers in the crimes that are perpetrated in the Atlanta, Georgia child killer. And stamps are big to the Zodiac, as we can tell through Harriette Solves. Let's see. And on comparison of the Avenger Zodiac handwriting, despite disguised handwriting, note similarity to the small letter G as it is used in the Channel 9 newsletter, and then opposed to the Black Dahlia was where this individual had pointed it out. So I'm glad even on a layman's level, we have people that are making matches and comparisons in this. Both Avenger and Zodiac frequently and deliberately misspelled simple words. In his 1947 first mailing below, Avenger spells correctly. Then in the second, deliberately misspells Los Angeles as Los Angels. And I think that was kind of a reference to the city, right? Back in the day, Los Angeles.
Yeah, I think so. Because the one I just worked on, the one that we haven't come up to that one yet. There's a different San Francisco Chronicle with the Los Angeles. So yeah, this is what we just read in the Channel 9 letter is just like a month or 2 after the one that's coming up that you had the Bardo. It's called the Bardo request, July.
The friction letter.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, let's see if we can get to that. So we've already covered the best of my ability, MLK and hating to Mar-a-Lago. Fuck yeah. I think we already read that solve, correct? Eat a dick, so eat it.
Yeah.
All right. He's being a foul mouth.
A lot of time on those.
Well, in between that letter and the next letter, we actually had another unsolved case, Karen Petty and her sons Mark 5 and Scott 7 in the North Houston area. Again, we are noting that Jack is still in Texas at this point, but he is looking to move back to California by January of 1979. They are found in the bathtubs. Karen is bound with food cord and strangled with it. The boys are strangled and drowned, but Mark was also beaten. 1978, 1978 Mercury Marquis was found to be missing and found in an apartment at 198 Goodson Drive. Husband was Robert Petty. I don't really have any information on him. I couldn't find anything. Have you heard or seen anything in the solves in regards to Karen Petty or her 2 sons?
What is the first name again? Terrence?
Karen. Karen. I'm sorry, Pretty. I kept calling it. Karen Pretty and Robert Pretty are the parents, but Karen Pretty and the 2 sons were found dead in Texas, while we have Jack over in Texas. So it's North Houston, and we know that's the general vicinity and area for Jack at the time. It is similar to the deaths.
Anything about that?
Okay, so that was new. It was something I threw in here just because Jack happened to be in Texas at the time it happened. It says similar to the deaths in Minnesota and possibly in Michigan, where the suspect went straight into the house. Water and bathtub is being used. We see that in the Lipstick, California, and other murders. It's 162 miles, approximately 2 hours and 31 minutes on average time frame for Texas murders, and consistent with other murders like the Ketty Cabin murders, where it's the entire family, mother and children, taken out. Oh, Robert Crane. So I think that's who I was probably alluding to when we were discussing earlier. We've got less than a minute, so I don't think I'm going to check into Robert Crane. But how do you feel about this one in Scottsdale, Arizona?
What was that?
I said, how do you feel about this particular crime?
The Bob Crane?
Yes.
No. Bob Crane, there's so much going on with Bob Crane. I've heard a lot about the possibilities for things that was going on with him, and he was taken out.
Yeah,
So
he was definitely taken out.
I
And
don't
I have
see
some
Jack,
good.
but I don't see Jack going after him, but there was a reason why he died.
Right. And we're going to talk about that here shortly. Well, next week we'll catch up on this and we'll do the friction tape and we'll move on from there. Harriette, stay with me after we get off of this, so don't hang up. Once I get back with Juan, I want to set up a pre-record for the day after Thanksgiving so everybody has some new content while they're sitting at home and recovering from their food comas. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. You come next Friday. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.